On December 5th, 2022, a team in California did the impossible. They created a miniature star on Earth. For a fraction of a second, they produced more energy than they used. Nuclear fusion, the power of the sun, was no longer science fiction.
But here's the shocking truth. That breakthrough wasn't about giving you cheaper electricity next year. It was the first domino in a chain reaction that will, by 2060, make countries that rule oil today irrelevant.
What if the next world war isn't fought over land, but over who controls the beam of energy from space? What if your neighbor's car, not a power plant, becomes the bedrock of your city's grid?
This is the coming reality. By 2060, the global power grid will be unrecognizable. And this transformation won't just change your light bulb. It will trigger geopolitical earthquakes, redefine wealth, and force us to answer a terrifying question.
Are we building a utopia of limitless power, or a system so complex and interconnected that its failure could plunge civilizations into darkness? Welcome back, future visionaries. I'm Jordan. If that opening felt like a scene from a sci-fi thriller, I need you to understand something. It wasn't. Every single element was based on published research, current prototypes, and the immutable laws of physics and economics. What we're about to dive into isn't speculation, it's a forecast. A logical projection of technologies that exist today in labs and pilot programs, scaling across the decades between now and 2060. We're going to deconstruct the future of energy. We'll move from the fragile grid of today through the unseen revolution coming by 2040 and finally to the world-altering system of 2060. We'll talk about power from space, mini-suns on Earth, and an AI brain that could manage it all. But this journey isn't just about wires and watts. It's about power, in every sense of the word. Who will have it? Who will lose it? And what moral price are we willing to pay for a planet humming with limitless, clean energy? So, get comfortable, but don't get too relaxed. We're about to scratch our brains on the most fundamental engine of our civilization. Let's begin. To see the future, we must first diagnose the patient, and our global energy system is a weary, patchwork patient running a marathon. Think of it as a one-way highway. Giant power plants, coal, gas, nuclear, hydro, generate massive amounts of energy in a few key locations. This energy then screams across hundreds of miles through aging transmission lines, losing power as it goes, until it finally trickles into your home. The fuel mix? Still dominated by fossil fuels. Despite the rise of wind and solar, over 60% of global electricity comes from burning something. This isn't just a climate problem, it's a geopolitical anchor. Nations structure their entire foreign policy around securing oil and gas routes. And the infrastructure? In many developed nations, it's past its retirement age. The American Society of Civil Engineers gives the U.S. energy infrastructure a C-. It's vulnerable to extreme weather, cyber attacks, and simple wear and tear. But here's the core inefficiency. It's stunningly dumb. The grid doesn't know if your TV is on or your fridge is off. It generates based on predicted demand, and if we're wrong, we fire up polluting peaker plants. We waste enough energy in transmission and mismanagement to power entire nations. Incremental change, a few more solar panels, a slightly more efficient gas turbine, won't fix this. The 21st century's challenges, AI data centers, continent-scale electric vehicle fleets, the urgent need for deep decarbonization demand not an evolution, but a revolution. And that revolution is already brewing in the background. The next 2 decades will be a period of silent, foundational upheaval. By 2040, the pieces of the 2060 grid will be assembled and tested. Let's look at 3 pillars. Remember that miniature star from the trailer? That was the proof of principle. The next 20 years are about engineering, not science. Projects like ITER in France are building the massive, complex prototypes. But smaller, nimbler companies are betting on radical alternative designs. The goal by 2040 isn't necessarily a grid powered by fusion, but having several demonstration plants proving net positive, continuous energy generation. Think of it like the internet in the 1980s, a proven technology confined to labs and specific institutions waiting for its commercialization wave. Fusion shifts from if to when and how cheap. This is perhaps the most mind-bending concept: space-based solar power. Here's the simple, authoritative explanation. In space, there's no night, no clouds, no atmosphere filtering the sun's energy. A single satellite could capture up to 40 times more energy per area than a ground-based panel. It converts that solar energy into microwaves or lasers, non-ionizing radiation. Think of it as a focused beam of the same energy that heats your food in a microwave oven, and beams it down to a receiving station, a rectenna, on Earth. By 2040, we will likely see the first operational pilot project. The European Space Agency has its Solaris initiative. China has stated clear ambitions. The technology, solar cells, wireless power transmission, robotics for in-space assembly, is advancing rapidly. The philosophical question this forces on us is stark. Who owns the sun's energy? If a satellite in geostationary orbit can beam power to any point in a hemisphere, does that energy belong to the country that built it, the country it flies over, or all of humanity? We have no legal framework for this. You cannot manage a grid of millions of fusion plants, orbital arrays, wind farms, and, crucially, billions of consumer devices with human operators. Enter the self-healing, predictive grid. By 2040, advanced AI will be the grid's omnipresent brain. It will predict local demand down to your city block by analyzing weather, traffic, and even social event schedules. It will negotiate in real time. Here's a real-world example today. In Vermont, a utility is piloting a program where they can draw power from the batteries of customers' electric vehicles during peak demand. You get paid, the grid stays stable. Now, scale that to 100 million EVs. The AI will see a storm coming, pre-position emergency power, isolate damaged sections automatically, and reroute power in milliseconds. This isn't speculation. These are the stated goals of grid-edge technology firms like AutoGrid, Siemens, and countless startups. But this gives rise to a profound moral implication. In a grid this smart, privacy is dead. For the system to work, it must know if you're home, when you cook, when you sleep. Your energy consumption pattern is a biometric fingerprint. Do we trade this intimacy for resilience? Now, let's synthesize these pillars into the world of 2060. This is where the true disruption hits society. This is where fusion comes into its own. Where geography permits, compact fusion plants provide the relentless, always-on baseload power for megacities and industrial zones. They're not everywhere, but they're the new anchor. Giant SBSP constellations act as the ultimate peaker plant and strategic reserve. When Tokyo has a week of typhoons, it can contract for a few terawatt-hours from the orbital fleet. This turns energy into a just-in-time, globally tradable commodity, like data. The continent-spanning smart grid, ultra-high voltage direct current, or UHDC lines, the energy internet backbone, silently move gargantuan amounts of power across continents with minimal loss. Solar from the Sahara can power factories in Germany at noon. Wind from the American plains can light up East Coast cities at night. This is the most radical change for you. Your neighborhood is a microgrid. Your solar roof, your EV battery, your neighbor's home battery, all are interconnected nodes. The AI aggregates and optimizes this distributed energy resource, or DER, swarm. You are no longer just a consumer. You are a prosumer, a producer and consumer. Your primary utility might be an app from Google, Tesla, or a company that doesn't exist yet. The old order collapses. Nations whose power was built on fossil fuel exports face an existential crisis unless they pivot with unimaginable speed. The new superpowers? Nations or corporations that master fusion engineering, SBSP, and grid AI hold the ultimate high ground. The nations that secure the most valuable orbital slots for SBSP. The grid of 2060 is mineral-hungry: lithium, cobalt, copper, rare earths. But here's the twist. Fusion and advanced recycling could dramatically reduce this dependence long-term, making this power transient. Energy wars may not be fought with tanks, but with cyber attacks on grid AI and kinetic anti-satellite weapons to blind or destroy orbital power stations. Deterrence shifts from nuclear missiles to the threat of plunging a rival into a months-long blackout. Energy approaches effective abundance. For developed nations, the cost of electricity could plummet for basic needs, fundamentally altering the cost of living, manufacturing, and computation. But access will be the new divide. Will the orbital energy beam down to a rectenna in sub-Saharan Africa or to a data hub in Luxembourg that pays more? The risk is a grid apartheid, a planet of hyper-powered resilient zones and abandoned energy-poor hinterlands. And what is the meaning of work in a world of abundant, cheap energy that feeds automated industries and AI? We are forced to confront the purpose of human labor itself. So, we stand at the precipice. The path to 2060 is being paved with our choices today. The technology will happen. The physics works. The question is one of will, ethics, and vision. We've charted a course from our fragile, centralized past to a hybrid, intelligent, and awe-inspiring future grid, a grid that could empower humanity to its greatest heights, or entrench its deepest inequalities. This leaves us with one final, intriguing question to discuss in the comments. If, by 2060, you could draw your home's power from a mini-sun on Earth, a solar farm in space, or your own community's network, but each choice came with a different cost, not in money, but in privacy, autonomy, and geopolitical alignment, which would you choose, and why? Tell me your thoughts. Debate each other. Let's crowdsource the ethics of this future. If this deep dive into our collective tomorrow fascinated you, if it made you think, then your support is what allows me to make more of it. So please, hit the like button. It's the energy signal to the YouTube algorithm. Share this video with one person you think needs to be part of this conversation, and subscribe to Future Vision Talks and hit the bell. Because we're not just watching the future, we're building the framework to understand it together. I'm Jordan. Until next time, keep looking forward.